Hey everybody, welcome to the first podcast in the channel, English with a Native Speaker podcast, helping anyone wants to improve his or her listening and speaking skills, and also it provides students with the best methods, instructions, techniques, and advice to improve their English. My guest today is Mr. David. David has been English teacher for more than 3 years, and he's here today to discuss a very important question. The question is, how can I improve my English? I appreciate your watching. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. And without further ado, this is me, Maisara, and let's start our podcast.
So thank you, Maistra. As you said, my name is David. I've been an English teacher for quite some time now, both in a real classroom and on the internet. And this is a very common question people ask. Oh, how can I improve my English? And my answer always starts with the same thing. The number one thing I believe it's the most important is listen a lot. If you think about a baby, by the time a baby is 2 years old, a baby has listened to language for more than 5,000 hours. And still, a baby has trouble speaking. A 2-year-old has trouble speaking. So we need to listen a lot. We all want to speak, but you cannot be a good speaker if you don't first be a good listener. And so, number one, listen a lot. And number two, I would say read a lot. And both of these are inputs. So I focus on putting English, or in my case, Arabic or Spanish, putting the new language into my brain by reading and by listening. And I like to read and listen to the same thing. So point one and point two are kind of together. So I will find a podcast, a YouTube channel such as yours, Maisra, and I want to watch it and listen, and then if I can, I want to have the words so I can read it, but not just one time. I read it again and again and again, and I watch it every day, maybe 5 days, 6 days, until I am very, very bored, because every time I hear something new, and I catch things that I did not catch the first time. But I like to read and listen, because many times if I read it, I understand. But when I heard the word, I did not understand. And I think, what is that word? But then I look, I say, oh, I know that word. I know it. And I listen again, got it. My third point, I tell people, in my opinion, vocabulary is far, far more important than grammar. The fact of the matter is, you need to know a lot of words. To be a very, very fluent speaker, it's probably 30,000 words in the English language that you need to know. I'm just making this number up. I don't know exactly. Now, to just make friends and have some basic conversations, you only need between 2 and 6,000, 8,000 words. But to be a very, very good speaker, it's more like 30. So one, vocabulary is important, but I think it is more important than grammar, because even if your grammar is poor, if you know all of the correct words that you need to know about a topic, you can communicate. Mm-hmm. Even if they are in the wrong place, they're all out of order, I will still understand. I will think, oh, he doesn't speak very well, but I understand. But if you do not know the vocabulary, your grammar, you know all the grammar rules, very good, but you don't have the vocabulary, I won't understand you. So it does not matter if you know this needs to be present simple or past continuous. That if you don't know the vocabulary, I won't understand. Point I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5
now,
on my list is okay. Point 4. So is passive and active vocabulary. If you know a word and it's in your passive vocabulary, it means if you see it, or if somebody else says it and you hear it, you know it. But it's not a word that you can use very often or use very well. So it's like you know it, but you don't know it very, very well. I say 30,000. I think of that more as passive. I have 30,000 passive words, okay? If I see it in writing, I know it. But it does not mean that I use 30,000 words. Even me, I don't know the exact number, but I am guessing I only use about 10,000 words on a day-to-day basis in English. So all of us, our active vocabulary is much smaller than our passive. Active is the words that we understand and we can use, whereas passive is only the words we can understand. But for me, I just focus on building my passive vocabulary. I trust that if my passive vocabulary gets bigger and bigger, and I just keep reading and I keep listening, eventually the words will become active in my brain, and I will remember them well enough to use them in conversation.
I like this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't, we say beat myself up. I don't get mad at myself if I forget a word. Oh, I just studied that word yesterday and I don't remember it. I'm wasting my time. No. Forgetting is part of the process. We learn, we forget, we learn, we forget, and eventually it will stay with us. So I just keep building the passive tank, keep putting new words in, and eventually everything will be fine. You will use them. Yeah. You will use them, yeah. So I guess my next point would be focus on your hobbies. What do you like to do? What do you enjoy? Okay, if you like sports, then study English related to sports. Read articles about the teams. Read the news all the time and listen to the broadcasts. Because if it's your hobby, you will find it very interesting, even though the English is difficult. But if I'm your teacher and I said, today we will read this article about sports, and you hate sports, then this will be very boring. It will be boring, and you won't want to remember what I teach you. So English, or any language, it's hard enough to learn. We don't need to make it more boring or more difficult than it is. So focus on the things that you like. If you like cars, study English related to cars. If you like horses and animals, study about horses and animals in English. Anything. If it's religion, study religion in English. Whatever is exciting to you, start there with your English study. So.
Yeah, amazing. Many teachers say that the best way to learn English is by watching movies. What do you think about that?
I don't think it's the best. I think it can be good once you become an advanced speaker. Then it can be good. I don't think it's the most efficient. Remember, I told you I like to understand 90% of what I'm listening to before, or else I believe it's too hard. So for me, most of the languages, and actually even now, I speak Spanish and Arabic very well, but it's still very difficult to watch a movie and understand enough so that I enjoy the process. For me, watching a movie in Arabic is hard work. Because I'm always thinking. So my level is not good enough yet. Some people like it. If you love the movies, I don't want to stop you, because again, my other rule is do what you enjoy. So if you enjoy that, then do it. But for me, I think it is more efficient to find something at your level, and I think you will learn faster if you start with easier levels. But eventually, I want to be able to watch a movie, because if you can watch a movie, then your language is very high. You know that it is very good. That is a goal that I have, but I don't think it's necessarily the best way to practice.
Watching movies could be the best way for some students, not all the students.
If you love movies, then do it. Another point related to that, though, is, remember I said I like to listen and read the material many, many times. Yeah. And so if a movie is 2 hours long, I can't watch it again and again and again. I get bored with the movie. So most of my listening practice, I try to find time during the day when I'm doing other things. If I'm exercising or walking, then I will listen. Or if I'm driving the car, or if I'm washing the dishes, this is a very good time to listen to English, especially when I'm listening to something that earlier in the day I read in my practice time. So I read the article, I read the story, and then I'm listening to it, and I remember what I read, so I hear more. So I don't spend a lot of time just sitting down at the computer just to practice listening. I don't do that much. When I'm during my dedicated time, I'm trying to read and learn through reading, and then in my other time where I'm trying to find extra minutes in the day, that's when I listen. So it's just the movies. I can't watch a movie 10 times. I don't have that kind of time. So,
of course, yeah, it's boring.
Yeah. And then I tell people, when you are with your language tutor or your language partner, just relax and speak and enjoy the conversation. So if you are tutoring me in Arabic, I will not sit here and be worried, did I say this correctly? What's the right? I just talk. I will make many mistakes. I am no longer embarrassed by my mistakes. I used to be, but this slowed me down. It hindered my progress, because if you are worried about not making a mistake, then you won't grow. Just make your mistakes. If you are listening enough and you are speaking enough, eventually your brain, when you say something wrong in Arabic, my brain will think, "Ooh, that's not how Maestro says it. How does Maestro say it? Oh, he says it this way." And then I change. And that's how I learn the grammar. I catch it more than I study and learn the grammar. This is the way people say it. That's the way I will say it. So,
but in fact, it's not that easy to relax while speaking. You know, non-speakers of any language, they have the fear of judgment. Mm-hmm. So how can I get rid of the fear of judgment?
That's a great question, and I have that too. And actually, I have that in all areas of my life, not just language learning. Anything I'm doing, I want to do it well. I don't want to do it poorly. One character fault that I have, I feel like if I can't do something well, then I don't want to do it. But that we can't be that way. When I lived in the Middle East, my roommate was an American guy, and he was very outgoing. He was always talking to people and making friends. He learned very quickly. I'm not that way. I have fewer friends, and when I talk, I don't like to make mistakes, and so my learning was slower. I was jealous of the way, he would talk. I was not talking. I was listening, and I would think, "Oh, he's saying that wrong. That's not how you say it. That's not how you say it." But guess what? He learned much faster because he was using it, even though he was saying things wrong. He was talking more, and he learned faster. So. What I would say is, one, you just can't be afraid. But two, find a good partner. Find a tutor, a teacher who you trust. You know they won't judge you. Languages are hard, and everybody says, "Oh, I want to be a perfect speaker. I want to speak like a native. I want to be very fluent." In reality, the truth is you will never sound like a native. You will always sound like a foreigner, but that's okay. That's okay. So you will never get to that place where you sound perfect. It won't happen. You can get to a place where you sound very, very good. But I have only met one or two people in my entire life whose native language was not English, who I felt like sounded like they were a native speaker. I guess it is possible technically, but most people, it's an unrealistic standard. So just learn, make your mistakes, and be okay with it. So the friends I'm thinking of who spoke like a native, they had an advantage because their native language was Dutch, and Dutch is a language very similar. It's related to English. They are both from the same family of Germanic languages. So he already had an advantage over people from German or coming from Chinese or coming from Arabic. He had an advantage that most of us do not have when we study another language. So
what is the last point that you want to mention?
The last point, I would say just have fun. That is my main point. Find things that you find somebody that you enjoy talking with and practicing with, and enjoy it. It's going to be hard, but if you find ways to enjoy it, it will be better. It will go faster.
In fact, I like your way. I like your way of explaining and giving these great advice and instructions. So guys, these are one of the best advice that I have heard about improving your English. So thank you for listening to this week's episode of English with a Native, your podcast. We really enjoyed talking with Mr. David about improving your English. Thank you, Mr. David, so much.
My pleasure.
Yeah, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button to see every new video. And goodbye.